to Dreams, Passion and Your Hong Kong Story, where every time we bring before you amazing stories from this magnificent land, Hong Kong. Today we have with us a person who we can call a unicorn in the fashion industry. Let's meet Mr. Palak Seth, founder and Vice Chairman of PDS Multinational. Hello Palak and welcome to our show.
Hi Jaya, thank you. It's a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Palak was born and raised in New Delhi in India and went to do his undergrad in Northwestern. After finishing his undergrad, Palak chose to come to Hong Kong and started PDS Multinational. From an apparel trading business, today PDS has become a platform for fashion business, and they provide great solutions to many blue chip retailers all across, from ethical manufacturing to sourcing to product development to distribution to logistics. Today PDS has over 20 offices with more than 10,000 happy employees serving all around the world. They have more than 60 verticals with a revenue in excess of $1.5 billion. Let's talk to Palak and find out how was his Hong Kong journey and what role did Hong Kong play in the life of this entrepreneur. So Palak, tell us, how was it to grow up in Delhi and any instance that you remember from your childhood that you believe has shaped you into who you are today?
Thank you. So I think, Delhi was a great place to be born and brought up in. It was in the 80s. It was a small city feel, limited choice. We had a very stable childhood. I went to school when I was like 4 at modern school in Vasant Vihar, graduated when I was 18, made some really good friends while growing up, so which was great, Also my parents, my dad was a first generation entrepreneur. He was working hard. I saw the value that he put in, in business and how he was traveling and conducting himself. So those really shaped how we were grown. My mom also was always supportive of him. Wherever he traveled in the world, she used to travel with him. So it was a wonderful childhood overall, But also I think one big gift I got growing up was, when my father was traveling all over the world, and in the summer holidays, like 6 weeks during like June, July time, we used to always go with them and travel around the world. So that really gave me the ability to deal with people around the world with different backgrounds, different nationalities, and relate with them at a very young age, which I think really stuck with us. So
I see.
Good childhood, stability, it's been a wonderful place to be born and brought up in.
So I'm assuming you're from a business family.
Yes.
So did you always want to be an entrepreneur growing up?
So, honestly, like when I saw my father work hard and, that always inspired me to be successful in life. My father created a name for himself, so I wanted to also live up to his legacy to be a certain extent. So that always was inspiration that I want to achieve something in life. Even as a child, when I was in conversation, I was not interested to play where the kids were playing. I was always interested to sit where the adults were sitting and listening to their conversations.
I see.
My father used to come back, I used to take papers out of his bags and start reading them to see what's going on. So I was always interested in certain aspect of business. But keeping the family legacy alive and grow it further was ingrained in me at a young age. We had a very privileged childhood. We got whatever we wanted. Some people today say that it could spoil a child, but we had everything we wanted. But it was the ingrained hunger and used to be there in those days that wanting to do something. So
you went for your undergrad to Northwestern. So how was it to do your college there, and tell us about your early career days?
So Northwestern was a great experience. It was a 4-year course. I finished it in 2.5 years. So I was able to see how the system worked, and it's summer classes. I met my wife Aiza there also, at age 18, so at a young age, so which was great. We met together.
Oh, that's great.
And after that, basically, I finished my undergrad and I got a job at a consulting firm in Chicago, run by University of Chicago and Northwestern professors. So this was a management consulting firm, quite niche, but very, very high quality of people who were working there. But I was there less than 6 months, and then basically I got a call from my father that why don't I come to India and join the family business. So that's how it was.
So you went back to India?
No, so basically I told him that I'm not interested to go back to India, right? And he was like, okay, then what would you like to do? I said, I want to be an immigrant again, right? I want to start, because if I went back to India, I would fall in the comfort zone, right? You'd go back to India, everything was provided for, and that's not the journey I wanted to take. So he said, okay, why don't you come to Hong Kong? And we have no setup, you're very small, like 1 or 2 people. So why don't you come to Hong Kong and I'll give you some initial capital and customer contacts to get started. So that's how in 1998, August 1998, I still remember, it was my birthday time, I came to Hong Kong, and with him, together with me, and basically went to China, started exploring that what can be done in this part of the world.
I see. So what made you choose Hong Kong?
So I think, Hong Kong, one was that we had no operation here as such, and Hong Kong is one of the big global bases for fashion. In those days it was like on its, basically at the top of its, play in the fashion world. So my father had a lot of customer contacts, so he basically gave some initial capital and some of the customer contacts and started telling them that my son is now moved to Hong Kong, and why don't you come here and I'll introduce the clients to offer them product from Far East, which is basically from China and different parts of the world. So it was, in a way, my reason not to go to India back, and his reason that why don't you, give you some more customer contact, which he had in India, which he had nurtured over the years, and come set something new up in a new place.
Okay.
So that's how the Hong Kong journey had started in those days. So I remember we started in Shimsha Shui. I had a small office, Faiza was with me, we were like co-founder of the company in those days. She, me, one accountant, and then basically one or two merchandiser, going to office, same like college days, but in work life, so starting morning till evening, but with some customer contacts, being able to develop the business, so small office.
So tell us about PDS Global, how did it all start? How did the journey start?
Yeah, so I was, young guy, right, and in the B2B supply chain space. So first year, I was lucky we did a $10 million sale, but made a $1 million profit. So that gave a lot of confidence. Combination of being a immigrant in a new city, combination of having early success in your career at a very young age, and combination of having hunger and motivation, I wanted to grow the business. So, in our B2B supply chain business, a lot of it depends on the relationship between the buyer and seller, right? So after 2-3 years of being in Hong Kong in '99, the company went to $30-40 million level. But every night I was out, I was gaining so much weight, entertaining people, and it was not sustainable.
So that's my next question. How did PDS grow so big? Of course you started the multinational here. But you've really grown it big. You have 60 verticals now. So what are the different strategies that you deployed that made you stand out in this field?
So basically I saw that, I can't take the company over a certain level. I was becoming the bottleneck myself. And I started studying, how 𝐿𝑖 𝐹𝑢𝑛𝑔 was growing. And I remember I was on a flight from Shanghai to LA to Shanghai in those days. And I had a book in my hand called Competing in a Flat World by Dr. William and Victor Fung. And I was seeing how they were growing by acquiring businesses, right? And I didn't have the capital to acquire business, nor did I see big value in acquiring business in the B2B space. So what I started doing, finding talent in our industry. They could be working for a customer, for a competitor, or generally people who were actually running the business, but were not having ownership in them. So started bringing those people on board and setting up companies with them. So typically I would interview someone, bring them, and say, okay, let's set up a business. In your current job, you just have salary, but here you'll have equity, you'll have free hand. And slowly, within first 5-7 years of the business, from 1990 to 2005 or 6, there were 7-8 of these verticals which started forming.
So these all became subsidiaries?
Subsidiaries of the holding company, right? So subsidiaries with minority shareholders in each of them running as owner entrepreneurs. So over a period of time, then became 10-15, of these subsidiaries. And we're like, okay, let's now consolidate some of the back-end functions. That's where the concept started coming that let's make it into a platform. So PDS platform does the finance, banking, IT, legal, HR, compliance, all these common functions, and let these business owners, focus on running their own verticals and take care of the customer needs, So that's how the company evolved, and today it's one of the larger global fashion platforms on which so many verticals are running.
What a brilliant idea! So So what's exciting for those guys when they come as subsidiaries? Like how do they make money? How do what is lucrative for them when they join you?
So first, this idea, from India is something called jugaad, right? So you basically develop something with limited resources in hand. So I didn't have the capital. So okay, we found a solution to expand the company. But most of these people coming, right? They were in stable jobs, earning a salary. Maybe they would make 2 or 3, months, 6 months bonus on top. But on our platform model, the great advantage they have ownership of the business. Whatever they grow, they get a share of the profit. We distribute dividends every 6 months or 12-month basis. So, and they are all running like, businesses as owner entrepreneurs. So they don't have to worry about the big politics of companies. So really it's like the platform and they are vertical and they run it like an owner entrepreneur. So the ability for them to have free hand, to grow themselves, to develop their business into a platform as well and get dividends out of the profit and create long-term value and equity for themselves in that business is what inspired many of these people to join. Initially, we had to sell the concept to a lot of people, but now, we are
I could imagine, like you had just started,
yeah,
and then this is the strategy you deployed to grow it.
Yeah, yeah.
You must have had challenges. Like, how did you convince all these smart guys to come and join your platform?
So initially, when I was, sitting in my small office in Shimsha, I couldn't bring them in and, sell them the vision. So I should meet people in Shangri-La, Kowloon Shangri-La Hotel and start talking to them about the vision that, we can create this and why don't you come and join and, we'll set up businesses together. So I had to convince a lot of people with a lot of experience. And many of them were much older than me. I was in my 20s, all these guys in the 30s and had 10-year stable experience, were working in a stable job. But I think, we were able to sell them the dream that if tomorrow you're able to join, and then, we had some 1 or 2 success already that I could orchestrate. So the first 1 or 2 were the more difficult ones. There was a guy, actually Sunny Malhotra, who joined me first in Hong Kong. He was working with SKD Pacific those days. So, he left and he joined and he was one of my first partners who set up that business. After that, the goodwill started spreading. So it was easier to orchestrate success of other people, in those days. Yeah.
And so on this platform, you have businesses from all around the world?
Yeah, so we've got offices in almost, 25 countries now, around 60 offices in 25 countries. So we don't really care, people, as long as they have good values, their values and, attitude match towards what we want to achieve, their mindset is there, they're honest. We look for entrepreneurs from around the world, right, in our industry. So they could be sitting in Bangladesh or Vietnam or Chile or South Africa, wherever, but they have the ambition to grow. So anyone who came to us said that, oh, we want to sell your company and exit, we were not the right platform. But as long as people wanted to come and grow together, we found as long as the values match and the ethics match, we brought them on board and set up businesses with them,
And what are some of the challenges that you faced in growing this, and what are some of the challenges you still face now that it's already so big?
Yeah. So I think, the advantages of our model are quite a lot. One is that there's no politics. If I bring these 60 smart people in one company, right, they'll all kill each other and leave because of politics that a big organization create. Because of vertical concept, they're so focused on their own business, which is advantage. Second, they don't have to worry about the back end of the company. That's taken care of. Third, there's a lot of zero distance between them and the customer. They're totally focused on the customer need. Big customer dealing with a large organization, they'll get lost. But because PDS has so many small verticals, they're able to get the full attention. So there are a lot of advantages. Then also banks will not support small, medium-sized businesses today. But because these companies are part of a large platform, they get supported by the banks as well, because the banks look at the balance sheet strength of the holding company. So there are a lot of advantages. But the challenges we face sometimes is people are so passionate about running their own vertical that they don't look at the overall group picture. So, and secondly, we are not able to leverage our scale. So we could be a sizable organization, but it's a combination of, 10 million, 250, $200 million sub P&Ls. So they're all focused on there, so we're not able to bring leverage of scale.
So how do you promote your company culture then? Because you have so many different verticals and in so many different geographical locations.
Exactly.
So do you consistently try to get some kind of a culture in place?
So there's a culture is strategy for lunch, right? So that's the well-known fact. So culture is strategy for lunch. So in PDS, we always say that these are the values of the company. Right, we put behaviors against the values, but culture, every business can form their own culture within our value system. So we'll hire, fire and promote for values, that's very important because, each of these subsidiaries could be operating under their own brand name, but because, they are subsidiary of PDS and, owned majority by PDS, their action could impact the overall group's reputation and personally my reputation. So we make sure that, if people are not following the values, we'll have to close the business down and exit our partnership. That is very clear. Second, in PDS, I've started the 3 balance sheet concept, so every company's got a cash balance sheet, which everyone follows, which is the P&L and the balance sheet and everything. Second, we said we have to have a credibility balance sheet, a credibility with all our stakeholders, with our suppliers, with our banks, with our customers, with all our internal employees. So credibility balance sheet is second. Third is the capability balance sheet. Capability balance sheet is how we hire people and how we promote and grow them. So, the 3 balance sheet concept is taken in view in all our decision making. Cash, credibility, capability, and which keep that balanced view around the world, that don't think of only short-term cash gain or, profit gain. Please look at long-term credibility of your business and the group and the capability you bring and nurture. Because we are in the people business, right? We are really, PDS is in the fashion business, but we are really in the people and,
so Palak,
entrepreneurial business.
You started all this from
Yeah.
Hong Kong. You grew it all over. How was Hong Kong a base for your business?
I think, Hong Kong, honestly, if we didn't start in Hong Kong in those days, the company formation would have not been possible to scale up to the level we were able to. Because I think Hong Kong, was a global fashion hub, and I hope it continues to be post-COVID when travel restrictions go away, right? So every retailer around the world used to travel 2 or 3 weeks in Asia and used to make Hong Kong a 1 week stopover, So it was a great place to meet all the retailers when they were traveling in Asia. Second, our business requires a lot of trade finance and, credit insurance. So Hong Kong is the best base in the world, where you've got a very strong banking infrastructure. So the trade finance and the, credit insurance infrastructure is some of the best in the world. You can't match this any other city.
I see.
Then, the US dollar peg and, the rules of law and stability. So I think Hong Kong is the best base in the world, A lot of people talk about Singapore, but at the end of the day, Singapore, is more in wealth management and, health funds. They are not really that dynamism of people and ability to get things done, which Hong Kong is.
And how has Hong Kong been for your personal journey?
I think Hong Kong, honestly, personally, this is our second stint in Hong Kong now. I think, COVID for our family is almost like a blessing in certain way. It took us away from that, treadmill of running around and, almost like headless chicken, just going with life. So being in Hong Kong, I think it's a big city with a small city feel. You've got some of the best restaurants, great family time. I think the schooling is much more balanced here than what we found in UK. So in London, we never got time to even see each other. Everyone was busy with their own lives, even small kids.
Yeah.
But here, that big city without the hassle of traffic, without the hassle of, waiting for things to happen, people being efficient, do what they want to do, I think it's been very positive, overall. It's a great city with a high quality of life for sure,
All right, Palak, are you ready for a rapid fire question
please,
round?
let's go. Yeah.
That's getting to know Palak's Hong Kong story in a bit more fun way.
Thank
Last
you.
time you did
Yeah.
something
Yeah.
for the first time in Hong Kong.
I think, first time, Hong Kong offers so many classes, with our children. We end up going to like neon sign making class, soap making class. So every weekend or every second weekend, we find a new class, and that's always a first.
Okay.
Which is great, where
So which was the last class you did?
we went to neon sign making, so we went together and we were trying to make those signs because that is a dying industry in Hong Kong, but they're trying to, have children do those classes.
Okay.
So it's just fantastic.
And your
yeah.
favorite dining spot in Hong Kong?
I think, for casual dining, I like, honestly, Zuma and La Petite Maison are always consistent and good. But for formal dining,
Zuma is what cuisine?
Japanese,
Japanese.
and La Petite Maison is French.
Yeah.
But for formal dining, I think, you've got Caprice, which is amazing. Recently,
French.
I went to Petrus, which was amazing. They have
It
a
looks like you
German
like
chef.
French food.
I like different kind of food. And then, Lung the Chinese restaurant, is more formal dining. So they're all great. And Automezzo, the Italian one as well. So
Okay.
I love to go
So
to
your
good
favorite
restaurants.
thing to do in Hong Kong with your friends and family?
I think you must be getting this answer from a lot of people. Is basically hiking and taking boats and going to outlying islands, right?
Yeah,
Which is
yeah.
very unique part of Hong Kong. That within 10-15 minutes you could be on a hike, with beautiful nature, or you could be on a beach with outlying islands. So I think that you cannot beat. It's great to have that.
Amongst all your offices around the world,
Yeah.
which one is your favorite and why?
See, it's very difficult to say, but I would say, I always like coming to Hong Kong because that's where I started. So, even though in the last 3 years I've not come here too much to the office because I'm running virtually from where I'm based right now. But I think, in every office, because of my business model, I've got that personal relationship with the business heads.
Yeah.
And some of them you develop more personal relation than business relationships. So Hong Kong, UK probably is where I spend the most time. And
If you
have
were
my
not a
personal
businessman,
relationship.
what would you be?
See, I'm fortunate that I had the backing of my father in early age, and set me up for success, which was great. But if I didn't have that, probably I would be in a more professional journey in the US. I got that job in a consulting firm and probably would have built up my career there, So
What are you most proud of as a Hong Konger?
I think most proud being as a Hong Konger, I think, it's a great city. It's a safe city with a high quality of life. So I think, Hong Kong ticks a lot of boxes, both for professional and personal life. So it's a city you can proudly say good things about. Honestly, I also feel, the people in Hong Kong, they're very respectful, right? The culture, because I lived in US, lived in UK, lived in India, and, this part of the world. People are respectful and, they're basically very humane, right? Which is quite proud to have that.
So what would you tell the global business leaders? Why should they engage with Hong Kong?
I think Hong Kong is a great, balance of life between personal and work, right? And work-wise, I think you've got some of the best infrastructure for banks, for legal, efficiency. People do what they're supposed to do without, making too many issues about it. And, the rule of law, the dollar peg, the low taxation, these are great places for Hong Kong to be a global hub. So I think both from personal and professional point of view, some of the best schools in the world. You've got excellent schooling system here as well. So I think that's fantastic about Hong Kong.
Thank you so much, Palak, for coming to our show.
Thank you. Really
we wish
appreciate
you
that.
all the best in all your future endeavors.
Thank you. It's a pleasure. Thank you.
Stay tuned for our next episode on Dreams, Passion and Your Hong Kong Story, where we shall bring you yet another fascinating story from this amazing land, Hong Kong.